and welcome back to Down the Forest Path. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and New Year. And for me, it is now the time where the new year has just started, so I like to sit back and think about the stuff that I made in the year before. So I thought I would take you along on this journey and we could talk about everything that I knit in the last year and talk through stuff and see if it was good or not so good, successful project or not. So without further ado, I would say let's get right into it. So the first thing I finished was a headband. It was the Hiedra headband by Fiber Tales, and I loved knitting this pattern. It has a really interesting construction where you drop a few stitches and then you pick them up again to make the braids on the sides, and that was really fun to do. And I wore this out. It was really nice and warm and lovely. It was then a victim of, let me grab it, the big washing machine accident of November 2024. So I don't know what happened, but it's a tragedy. I washed a few of my woolen items in the washing machine, as I've done before, without any spinning, because usually they come out fine. So like cold cycle, no spin, everything like that. I know it's always a risk, but I think the washing machine must have malfunctioned and spun anyway, because it completely felted. I can now throw it away, I guess. I tend to keep stuff anyway and make something else with it, but I think this is beyond salvageable because also due to its felted state, it has started attracting cat hair, and that is just not a good thing in a household with 2 cats. So I think this is going the way of all earthly things a bit sooner than I wanted it to. But the pattern is lovely. It was a lot of fun to knit. It's really nice for using up some leftover yarn. So if you do look for a nice headband pattern anyway, then that is one that you might consider. The next thing I finished was a birthday shawl for my friend Jess, and this was really improvised. This is just knit from a few Manos del Uruguay Fino silk minis. So this is a silk and merino wool yarn, and I really love it. It's not twisted, so it's super soft. It's probably not the best choice for anything that has like a lot of wear and tear, but for a shawl, this is really nice. And I did love the colors of the set. I also used up a Mondschaf mini in it. It's that like yellow that's a bit more variegated in there. And I think it worked out super nice. Jess liked it. I've seen her wear it, so I think it landed. And the pattern, I just kind of improvised based on 2 free patterns on Ravelry, the Age of Brass and Steel, I think it's called, kerchief, and the other one, I can't remember right now, but I'm gonna link it below for you, because if you want to get into shawl knitting this year, these patterns are really simple and they will give you a really nice triangular shawl for your first project. Sorry, the light is changing so much today. It's a bit difficult to film. So let's see what I have next. I have my laptop folder open here to show you. Yes. So next we have a shawl I kind of improvised. I started it when I traveled to Scotland the time before last time, and I finished it this year, and it became the second victim of the 2024 washing machine accident. So this is such a waste and it's so sad. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I did not wear this as often as I thought I would, just simply because the shape of it was not that easy to style for me. So this is based on a Bunitz pattern, and I found over time that I prefer like shawls that are a bit deeper and less long, and this was one of the longer ones, so I tried to change the lace around a bit to finish it with the Love in a Mist lace, but that didn't salvage it for me. So while I did like the shawl and I like the yarn, this is a Mondschaf linen and silk yarn, so it's as nice as it could be. I just didn't quite vibe with the shawl at all, and if it hadn't been a memory of a trip to Scotland, I would probably have found a new home for it. So I'm not the most sad that this got destroyed, but it's still really gutting. Next we have a baby blanket that I knit for a friend who was having a baby, and I picked this yarn because I thought it would be a bit more of a neutral color, So I wanted it to be a bit gender neutral, but I saw afterwards it was leaning quite heavily pinkish, as you can also see in the video. Not that that's per se a bad thing, but it wasn't what I was going for. So this is the Drops Muscat yarn. So it was really cheap to make this, but really sturdy. But yeah, if you are thinking about getting something in the color, I think it's named Silver Orchid, then just be aware that it is quite pink in real life. At least my dialogue was. But this baby blanket still came out really nicely anyway. It is super durable because it's just made from cotton, and I think it was quite a nice project. I'm quite happy with it. The pattern was free. I'm going to link that below for you too. It was super simple to do. So yeah, just all around quite successful, but it wasn't my favorite project of the year. Okay, the next project is still one of my absolute favorites of the year, I have to say. So this is the To the Heart of the Mountain shawl by Anna Victoria. And it's this beautiful lace shawl that goes around your shoulders, and it just feels so pretty. It's weighed down by these beads, and I just adore it. I find it so nice. This is made from dye for yarn cordonette silk, so it's a pure silk shawl. This is an expensive project. This is a splurge for me. I think, let me see how much this actually is, this yarn, because I only used one skein for it. I did run out of yarn at the end, but it wasn't hard to improvise. So yeah, if my Etsy history is correct, this is something roughly around a 30 or 35 euros a skein, which is a lot. Like, actually, on my last video where I was talking about unpopular knitting opinions, someone said it's absurd to spend that much on one skein of yarn, and I kind of get it, but this is 100% silk, and it is hand dyed, and shipping is free worldwide. So I mean, I'm gonna splurge on it every once in a while. This is a treat for me, but it is so drapey and lovely and beautiful. The beads make little clicking noises when you drop it on anything. I know this is a stupid thing to get excited by, but I get excited by stupid things. So here we go. And I've worn this to quite a few events because I'm so happy with it. I loved wearing this around my shoulders in summer because it keeps you cool because of the silk, and it doesn't heat you up. And that was still one of the best projects I made the entire year. Pattern was also really good and clear. I found it a bit difficult to keep track, but that's just because I was a bit scatterbrained, and it was not the fault of the pattern at all. Someone crashed the room where he's not allowed to go because there's yarn and you like to eat it, and I know you like to eat it, so you're not allowed in here. But you don't care, do you? Do you just not care? Down to eat yarn. Okay, so I'm gonna get you out of here. Next we have my mom's Mother's Day shawl, and this is another pattern by Anna Victoria. I think it is called Peala, and this was a beautiful pattern to make and she loved it, so I'm really happy with this project. I still like looking back at the videos of it, and it makes me proud to see, and I think my mom really liked it. There was one negative with this project, which was that the yarn colored off on my hands really badly. I think it was called Fading Poltergeist, and it was by Dye for Yarn. This is the first time this has happened to me with one of the yarns, so it's really not a regular occasion, but still, just to keep in mind, if you want to get the Fading Poltergeist colorway, that might be something to look out for if you value your fingers having their normal skin color. Next we have the 12 Birds shawl by Helen Stewart. So this is the half circle version of the 24 Birds shawl, hence the 12. And this is a beautiful lace shawl that uses quite a lot of minis if you wanted to. And I did want it to because I had some stuff that I really wanted to use up. And it turned out to be this beautiful summer berry colored, summer evening sky colored shawl. The yarn is Meadow Yarns, and I love the set. I think the set was called A Skein Full of Sky, and I love how this shawl turned out. I did not wear it as often, as I wanted to, because it is quite colorful and I have to think a bit about how to combine it, but it's so pretty and I still am fully in love with this, so this was definitely worth knitting, and I would consider making this shawl again in a monocolored version because the pattern is so pretty and so well written. Helen Stewart, I mean, everyone knows her, and so she's quite a renowned pattern designer, so renowned? Not renounced, renowned. Well, you know what I mean. She's a very good pattern designer, so when you get one of her patterns, you know that they're going to be well written, and this was very much the case for this one as well. So very nice knitting experience, lots of fun, beautiful shawl, would do again. The next project is not knit, but woven, but I loved it so much that I wanted to briefly talk about it anyway. This is a shawl I made for my friend's birthday, and she really likes it. It's like dark mossy green fern inspired shawl that has fern embroidery on it, which is inspired by the book Embroidery on Knits by Judith Gomlich. And I would recommend this book to everyone. It really made my knitting year to have this because it's such a beautiful book and there are some amazing tips and tricks and embroidery designs in there. And I am so happy with how this shawl turned out. I used the Alice Starmore 3-ply yarn to weave this and it came out beautifully, especially after walking it a little bit. It just felted a tiny bit in a very nice way, which you want for weaving, and I think this is one of the best projects I did the entire year. Next we had the Will-O-Wisp top by Wool & Pine. I made this to go on a trip to Switzerland specifically in summer because I thought it would be really nice to have for that. And while this is a beautiful design, I'm not happy with how this project turned out. I did gauge swatch, but I still had huge fit issues and it led to the back being way too big. I tried to gather stuff a little bit, but it didn't really help that much. So now it kind of hangs on me a little bit weirdly. It looks nice in pictures, but I don't just like things to just look nice in pictures because I'm not here for you to just get presented with pretty pictures of knitwear, but to get an actual review of what the finished garment is like. And at least for me, it just didn't fit me well. And to say it in a like, so it's not like I'm not someone with a bigger bust circumference, so I don't even dare to imagine how this fit would sit on someone who has a very narrow chest circumference, because I think it would give even more in the back. But yeah, I mean, like, the pattern itself is beautiful. I really love the lace at the bottom. I think it's really special. But yeah, before you knit this, or when you knit this, make sure you try it on through the entire process to make sure you get a good fit, because it's not a given necessarily. I also used Knitting for Olive, the pure silk, for it, and I'm just realizing more and more that me and this yarn just don't mesh that well. I find it quite splitty. It also has some like irregularities here and stuff, so you can just see that. And for me, another problem is that I feel like it sucks moisture from my hands, and I don't know how. I've not had anyone else complain about this. This is probably a me problem, but I find it super drying for my skin. So this is definitely not my favorite project of the year. I've tried to give it to my mom because I think it might fit her more nicely, but I think she thinks that I actually secretly really like wearing this, so she's not accepting this. So Mom, if you are watching this, this is not getting worn by me. Can you please take it off my hands? I would be very grateful. Thank you so much. Next we have the Celeste sweater by Zari Nordlund, and I love Zari's patterns. I've talked about them before. I improvised the sleeves, so that's not the original pattern sleeves, and I cropped it, but the lace pattern is as it should be. And I finished this in a session of speed knitting just in time to take on my trip to Scotland and Ireland, because I wanted a hiking sweater that also looks kind of fancy. And I think it accomplished this beautifully. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I do have a bit of the issue that the sleeves shrunk a tiny bit in the wash, but nothing you can't fix. And I wore this quite a lot when hiking. Like, it's just beautifully usable for it, because I used Drop Spell for this, which is a cotton, linen and viscose yarn. So it's very light, it's not going to make you sweat. It's not a winter hiking sweater, but for hiking in summer when it gets windy, this is just perfect, despite of the kind of lacy, holy structure of it. I am super happy with how this fits. Zari often doesn't have short rows in her patterns, and I think this one was no exception. I might be wrong, but for me, I find that often fits me quite well, and especially this pattern didn't feel like it was kind of choking my neck or something like that. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I love how the lace is going down the arms as well, and it was really fun to make this, and I can recommend this pattern. And I can always recommend Drop Spell, because I think the sweater cost me about 10 euros to make. So I mean, what can you say at that point? It uses worsted weight yarn, and the Drop Spell is a DK, so I think I went up one size from the size I would normally do, and that worked out just about really nicely. So I'm still happy with this, and I can't wait to wear this again once it gets a tiny bit warmer, because at the moment it would just be, you would not survive in the cold just wearing this. It's freezing here and I love it. I always complain about the summer weather, and I would be such a hypocrite to now complain about the cold weather, but I also just really can't. Apart from the fact that my hands get dry, I just love this. It's so nice. You can always dress more warmly when it's really cold, but you can't flee the heat if it's like 38 degrees Celsius, right? So I guess the next we have my Scotland inspired jumper, inspired by the Highland ferns that we stumbled our way through when hiking. And I think I don't have to say too much about this. This is, I think, my favorite thing I've made in the entire year. I'm still so happy with this. I'm so happy I discovered this yarn. This is World of Wool Isle. This is one of the cheapest wool yarns I've ever worked with. I think it's like £6 for 100 grams or something like that. It's so good. I love it. And the embroidery I actually did with a yarn I got on the Isle of Skye when I was there, which is from a place called the Handspinner Having Fun. If you ever make it to Skye, you should definitely go, because this is paradise for really special yarns that are one of a kind, and it's really worth going. And the World of Wool Isle yarn I got from the yarn store in Fort William, the Caledonia Wool, and that yarn store is also fully recommend. Like, it's a haven of British yarns, and you will find some really nice stuff there, as well as some nice felt kits by the owner. So this is, I think, really still one of my favorite projects I did the entire year, and it has so much meaning for me. I love that I did this. Yeah, I feel like there haven't been so many negative things going on, but I got quite lucky with my project selection this year, so there's that. After that, I got bitten by the colorwork bug, and I made quite a few Halloween doodle hats, and I still love them. I think they're super cute. I made a headband, I made 2 hats. One of the hats had my cats on it, like specifically. So what can I say? I am still super happy with this. This was such a nice autumny project. You can clearly say we're going into autumn now, and the year is slowly coming to a close. So that's a little bit melancholy, but yeah, I also used this to use up so many of my yarn leftovers. There's some Malabrigo Rios in there, there's some Wild Atlantic yarns in there, and that was just such a nice project to bust some stash and make some really cute tiny things. After that, I made another cute tiny thing. I made the Ripka pouch, and I think I just need to make more of these. I just really love them. I think they're so cute and they're fun to make. They're these little tiny fishes in a pouch, and you can just put like a lipstick in, or maybe some period products and stuff like that, and it will fit beautifully into this tiny fish and be kept very safe. After that, I made a headband for my friend Jess, and I embroidered it to look a bit like Pre-Raphaelite, and I think it came out really nicely. So yeah, I was so quite happy with this still. This was a saved accident because it was originally too big, so I felt it in the washing machine, and now it is the perfect size, and I think it suits her super well, especially with the flower embroidery. Next we came to my test knit that I talked about, the Harvester Sweater by Jennifer Steingers. I don't know why, but I think it's because I'm from a rural area, but hearing the word harvester just make me think of those like giant harvesting machines. Not anything poetic, but this is quite a poetic sweater with lots of like feathers swirling around in a colorwork design. I am really happy with how it turned out. I loved making this. I loved getting the opportunity to test knit, and yeah, the only thing that I'm not super happy with is my yarn choice, because the superwash yarn I feel like has a more of a tendency to pucker in color work than non-superwash yarn. It's super soft. I like wearing it a lot, but I think, as I said before, I'm slowly falling out of love with superwash yarn, and there's nothing I can do about that. And it's probably not even that bad, because the treatment that they do to yarn to make it superwash is not very environmentally friendly. So I can't even say this is the worst thing to ever happen, but I do have some that I really do want to use up because I don't want to waste it. But yeah, like that is the one negative point about this project, I think. I almost felt like I needed a contrast after working with that superwash, so I did the complete 180-degree opposite thing and worked with unspun yarn, because I was thinking about getting some Nutiden and I did not in the end. I got some Manchalopis instead, because they are not like that hard to get, so no need to get up in the middle of the night. And I wanted to test it out first anyway, if I like knitting with unspun yarn, and it turns out I love it. So I made a headband for my brother for his birthday, and I made, I think what is probably, I say my embroidered fern sweater is the best thing I made that year, but maybe it's also this sweater that I made for my sister for Christmas, and I'm just so in love with it. It's so beautiful. I really struggled giving it away because I liked it so much, but I did, and she loves it and it suits her so well. I almost cried when she put it on because it's so cute on her, and I hope she wears it for years to come and has a really good time with it. And I'm going to talk about it more in my next video, I think. Then I'm going to do a proper project discussion, but for now, that's all I want to say about it. And then for the very last project of the year, I made a headband for my dad. And I am from a family of sailors, but I am myself not a sailor. And this is based on a pattern from the 1890s that got adapted into a hat specifically for sailors because it's really, really warm. So I thought that would be really fitting to make him that so he can wear it when sailing. And yeah, that was also just a really nice project, and it was made from an alpaca and wool yarn from a company that's so small they don't even have a website, but it was incredibly soft and I'm really quite happy with it. So that was 2024 in knitting for me. I think I left out a few things. I in fact even know like I left out one small shawl and stuff like that, but overall that's most of the stuff I made. I think it's quite a lot. I was carrying the stuff and I was really surprised at how much stuff there was. I think I'm happy with about 75% of my project, which, like, it's not a bad quota, I don't think. And for next year, I think I'm just gonna keep going. I just really loved embroidering on knitting, so I think I want to do more of that. And at the moment, I'm kind of in a sweater mood, so I'm just making sweaters. Let's see how that keeps going over time. But yeah, right now I actually kind of need a knitting break, I think, because it always, like, I'm always trying to not stress myself out around Christmas, and I actually kind of managed, but stuff still kind of piles up at the end of the year and you just keep going from project to project to project. So right now I'm just leaning back, resting a little bit, going on walks, and probably getting back into knitting super soon as I have an idea that really doesn't let me go. So that's it from my side for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know in the comment what your favorite knitting project of your knitting year 2024 was. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you very soon. I hope, if you're still on leave, I hope you get to enjoy really nice cold winter weather and a little bit of rest before the new year picks up again. And I'll see you super soon. Bye!